Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
Think you know what way it's going to go? Make your bet with Sports Interaction. Whether it's hockey, football, or basketball, Sports Interaction has you covered. Bet pregame, live in play, or on one of our many prop bets. Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Join now and see all sports betting has to offer. Want to bet? Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. 19 plus. Please play responsibly. How fitting is that my mic didn't work to start the show in what is probably
just like
the most
the Sens.
Yeah, just like the Sens, we took a while to show up. You know what this means? The show's gonna also end poorly if we're trying to mirror that game. Yeah. Hello everybody, welcome to Game Over Ottawa. That is, I think this is the low point of the season.
Yeah, I'm officially changing my name to Samjo Ryan.
I needed that.
I mean, honestly, skip this game, folks. Skip it. It was boring for the first 3 periods, exciting for like 2 seconds in the third, and then sad. Very disappointing.
Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like your camera just cut out, but that's okay. They only need one sad face.
That's fitting.
It's
That makes a lot of sense.
I think if this show can just kind of fall apart slowly but surely throughout, it would be the most fitting way to do this. This isn't even the most frustrated I've been because we've seen the Sens lose 7 in a row. Where they lose every game by 1 goal, and most of the time they look like the better team. This is just a case of the Sens playing like shit and deservedly losing to the worst team in the league.
They couldn't stay on a man for the entire game.
No.
I don't know who their defensive coach is, but maybe he should look defense up in the dictionary.
Just so I don't get my hopes up, are you gonna try and fix your camera or what we're just what's the deal here? How we feeling?
I am gonna fix my camera.
Okay.
It ran out of battery. It was on full when we started, and now it's just out. So I'm gonna get a new battery for it. Hope that's charged. But yeah, maybe have you ever seen Shakespeare? That's got a lot of good monologues. You could do a Shakespearean monologue because that's more entertaining than this bloody game.
That was okay. So for those
to be
watching,
or not to be, that's the bloody question.
I really needed this to be an energetic game. I really needed this to grab my attention and just really hold it. I'm back to that was a nice little break through the All-Star break. I did an afternoon game since the All-Star break ended. I'm doing tonight's game, but I'm doing the games Sunday and Monday, which are also afternoon games. So for those who don't know, I'm in the UK, so I'm on a 5-hour. The games are 5 hours later for me, so I haven't completely shifted back into my being awake all night routine, which is what I do for this show to cover Sens games. So the transition to starting to watch hockey at midnight again when I've been, going to bed at 10:30 and getting up at 8 a.m. It's a tough transition to make. So I was really hoping for a really strong game. And my God, I don't think I could have had a worse game to watch to try and get back into that just brutal sleep schedule. So I am in a foul mood. I am exhausted and I just want to go to bed. Sam, what time is it for you right now?
It's 2:23 p.m. So I've got the rest of the day to be sad for.
But you also have the rest of the day to make up for this.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
It's a Saturday, dude. You got so many, you got so many options to fill up your day. I'm gonna go to bed as soon as the show's done. Let's just okay, you know what? Let's just get into it. I got my notes. Um, I mean, really, all you need to know is the Sens blew a 2-goal lead against the worst team in the NHL. Um, so, but so it wasn't even like like a sandwich game, like it starts bad, middle was all right or good even, and then it ends bad. The first two periods as a whole, Sens looked awful. And then the Sens looked good for what the first, what do you want to call it, like 12, 13 minutes of the third? I'm trying to find the what at what time. Oh, it was 10:49. So the first half of the third. So the Sens looked good for about the Sens looked really good for about 10 minutes against the worst team in the league, which is not a good look. Um, so so Patrick Kane scores the first goal of the game. How far into the game was that? 44 seconds.
Yeah, very, very quick.
Yeah, Max Domi to Patrick Kane for there he is. Max Domi to Patrick Kane for the least likable goal in NHL history.
Yep.
So the Sens
No
give
one
up
was
a
cheering
goal.
for that.
Oh, so the Sens give up a goal 44 seconds in, and then just a few minutes later take a too many men penalty. And I think that first 3 minutes of the game is just a perfect example of what was to come for Sens fans. By the way, this makes no sense because if you're listening to the show, you watch the game or you are not planning on if you missed the game and you're listening to this, you're not planning on watching it later. So I really have no reason to say this, but if you PVR'd the game, don't fucking bother. This was one of the worst. And so I don't even want to get to the breakdown of the game. I just want to fucking ramble. I
want to break that game. Let's break down this game, but not analytically.
I think regardless of, I think you can look and you had a lot to say about this too while we were watching the game together. You obviously picked up on there were some really rough missed calls against the Blackhawks, and there were a couple penalties against the Sens that were questionable at best. That said, you should still kill the Chicago Blackhawks. Like there's no excuse, especially on that short. Okay, so
that shorthanded from Lafferty.
So
my God,
that's a play where Shabbat needs to handle that puck at the blue line 100%. This was probably Shabbat's worst game of the season, which is saying a lot. He's had a rough fucking go of it this season. Oh no, from Mr. The New Guy 87 in the chat. I was at the game. Very sad. I'm sorry, Mr. The New Guy.
Dude. You should be able to get a refund for those tickets.
Ideally, it'd be nice if you could. That like you think if there's ever like a safe bet, like okay, well first of all, sorry, I'm so upset by this game. I completely forgot. This should have been off the top of the show. I should have said round of applause and congratulations to Chris Neal for having his jersey retired, number 25. No one else for the Ottawa Senators will ever wear number 25. I am someone who is a little on the fence about the decision of doing that. I think it's fun and cool. Should an enforcer have his number retired? But also Chris Neal is a fan favorite of all Ottawa Senators fans, and he played 1,000 NHL games with just the one team, never got suspended. As an enforcer, I think that's really impressive. I think for him, like retiring his number, I can see why a lot of people agree with it, but also I think it's just incredible that an enforcer and a player of his play style, to me, even someone who's a little bit on the fence about it, that Ring of Honor is like the floor, like the absolute least that the franchise should do to honor him is Ring of Honor. So I think that's a pretty incredible feat for a player like him.
I don't know much about the player, but the best possible reaction I can give to it is Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so unfortunately, he did retire the season before his last season was the season just before you got into hockey. So
So I never saw him play.
but here's the best thing about him. The year that he after his final season with Ottawa, which was in 16-17, that was the year that the Sens made that big playoff push. Um, the following off season, the Montreal Canadiens offered him a PTO because he wasn't getting a contract anywhere, and he just said no. So Sens fan, ultimate Ottawa Senator, Habs hater to the very end. We love you, Chris Neal. Also,
Bless you.
I was working in Staples in Canada, and this would have been, oh, when was I working at Staples in Canada? This would have been
2014.
no, this would have been.
If I'd
Can you
gotten
tell I
that
don't
though,
want to talk about the
weird.
game? I was working at Staples in Canada. Um,
What is Staples? Tell me about
so
Staples.
Staples Business
New sponsor
Depot
of the show.
is Staples Business Depot. So for all of our other Australian listeners out there, Staples is essentially like you go there and it's a mix of like office supplies and tech. So you get like office chairs, you can get pens and paper and computers, and it's just essentially everything you
Oh,
need
it's
for
like
an
an
office.
Office Works.
Yeah, yeah. So I was
Okay.
working there, and I worked there for about 6 weeks. I couldn't take it. I was working there during back to school season, so like August and September.
Ooh,
So my
that's like
training
Black
was like,
Friday.
yeah, dude, and it's like the busiest location in Ottawa too. So I was working there, and I think that would have been summer of 2017. So it was like just after his career had ended, because anyway, I ran into him
Was he
there.
going back to school?
Well, I ran into him while I was working there. Him and his wife and his kids were there, doing back to school shopping, and I was stocking
Oh.
some shelves and I was pushing the big cart filled with shit. And as I was like kind of starting to round the corner at the very end of an aisle, he comes around the corner and nearly fucking knocks into me, and like outwardly, vocally I said, oh, sorry about that. In my brain I was like, hit me, hit me, hit me, hit me. I was like, I want Chris Neal to hit me so badly.
Board me, baby, board me.
Yeah, that would have been nice. Just fucking knock me out, because number one, incredible story, and number two, this job sucks. um
I was going to say we've advertised a bit for Staples. You should tell us about how bad your boss was to just like swing it back into neutrality.
I want to. I had like a couple bosses, because there's like it's retail job. There's like different levels of managers and supervisors. And what I will say is it was a solid like 50-50 on like people above me being awful or really good. There was really no in between, so that was fun. Anyway, I lasted 6 weeks because I had to quit, because I couldn't handle it anymore. But also because this is going to turn into Ottawa public transit sucks, but like it sucks. And despite the fact that it was a 20-minute drive to get from my house to the Staples, it was nearly 2 hours on the bus. So I was like, I can't handle this.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
a terrible transit.
really rough. Anyway, all that to say, Chris Neal, very great special night for him. And you'd think the team was smart scheduling this really big ceremony before what should be the easiest game of the season.
Cue fart sound effect.
Yeah, okay, we're gonna go back to Shabbat, because Thomas Shabbat, this was supposed to be Shabbat's big breakout season. This was supposed to be Shabbat was supposed to look like how Jake Sanderson looks, more or less, with maybe more scoring. Um, Thomas Shabbat, man. So I got two big gripes with him, and I've seen people like defending him as to an extent. So that Lafferty shorthanded goal, that bobbling the puck at the blue line, like that's
Yeah.
inexcusable. You have to have that. You need to have that.
He needs to go do some cricket lessons. They always tell you, get your knee to the ground.
Yeah.
I heard the commentators being like, oh, maybe you could have done this, but maybe it wasn't the best move. It's like, no, it's the best move to stop the puck.
Just do whatever you need to do to, yeah. And
get that leg down.
Yeah, and in overtime on that, so there's that 2-on-1 going the other way. Athanasiou and was it Tyler Johnson going down as well?
It was. I actually have it written up here.
All right, your whiteboard. My bad.
Yeah, the fake name, the person with the not the real name,
right?
Assisted by Tyler Johnson and Jared McCabe. Is it? It's Jared,
Jake.
right? Jake, right? Jake McCabe, which actually his second assist of the night, he had a bit of a.
Yeah,
I don't know much about the player. He had a bit of a night tonight.
it was a
Should have
big.
given him the
What
first
we
start.
can say is it was a big night for all the names that the Hawks are about to ship out, because the three big names being talked about in trades: Lafferty, McCabe, Kane. So any scouts that
They
are
want to
watching,
get traded.
oh, you can tell, right?
Like
You can
they're
tell.
bumping up their stock.
And then on that overtime goal, I mean, like you can I don't know, like Shabbat goes full left and right bumper on NHL. He goes full spread on the ice, swinging his stick, and I guess like you can look at it one of two ways. You can look at it like either he took himself so out of the play that by the time he stood up and Athanasiou was going for the rebound, he just potted the rebound in completely uncontested, and he took himself out of the play completely. So you could look at it that way, or you could be like, well, he made a decision and just while exposing that side of the play offensively for Chicago, like allowing them to do it, you can be like, all right, well, he made his decision and he just went for it. Like he committed on that one play. I think
It's not the play he should have made.
no,
I
because
don't want to pretend to be a hockey genius, but in that scenario, you play the body. You knock that guy over.
yeah,
There is no rebound.
yeah, that 2-on-1, honestly, I mean, I don't know what most goalies would think. In my mind, I feel like a lot of goalies would prefer a 1-on-0 with a clear shot versus a 2-on-1.
Yeah.
In my brain. So I think you're right. I think probably Shabbat probably should have played the body on Athanasiou and then just pray that Johnson either misses or Sogard has a good, like can stop his shot.
That's a good bet to make because Tyler Johnson was missing the net all night.
Oh, that's true too. Yeah, he was. He really was. So all that to say, I think Thomas Chabot with probably so he's had moments of brilliance throughout the season, but I do think it says a lot about his season that I'm saying this might have been his worst game of the season. Like that's for
there was some
someone
real
like,
fart brain going on.
For someone like you who hasn't watched 50 Sens games this season, like that's gotta make you go, fuck, there might be a worse one. Especially from a guy like Thomas Chabot, who's supposed to be like a top 20 caliber defenseman in the NHL. And like I said before, this was supposed to be his big breakout season. The forward core is finally put together. He can just do his thing on the power play and just score at like a 70-point pace like we were all waiting for him to do at some point, but it's just not happening.
I'll give you my perspective on, and I think it's really a problem of the whole team in general. What's a good metaphor for this? They're trying to build a sled with no reins. Like they're going, okay, their main style defense is not to get on the man, it's to try and clip at those breakaway passes, like play in between the players, and when they pass, grab it from there. But the problem is the Ottawa Senators cannot make a complete pass to save their life. They just cannot receive a puck. They need to do the Mighty Ducks training with the eggs on the ice, just a whole practice of just passing along eggs to each other. And then maybe that defense would work if they could actually pick up a puck on the move. But they can't. So this defensive strategy is bonkers. And it's why they played so well in OT, because they stopped doing that.
The reason they played so well in OT is because Stutzler just decided, I want the puck.
Yeah. This is the Ottawa Senators. On his back.
Yeah.
Like he was crazy in that OT. As soon as he got off the ice, I was like, okay, well, that's it then, because no one was playing anywhere that good, and he was just. I was getting so pumped. I was like, oh my god, Stutzler is going to get it to Tkachuk. Did Chuck double shift that? He was out on OT.
I mean, they were out there for a while.
Yeah, because I remember him out with Giroux as well. Or to Brinkat. But yeah, I was just waiting for that backdoor pass, and it came, and then Tkachuk whiffed it because they cannot complete a pass to save their life.
I think if you remove my fandom from this game, if you remove not only my fandom but the context as well, I think if you're just some casual hockey fan who turned on the TV and watched OT, I think you can say that that was honestly an incredible overtime. That
It
was
was
just,
exciting.
it was very back and forth, very exciting. But then when you're like, okay, but my team lost and also to the worst team in the NHL, it makes me less, it makes me less excited about admitting the fact that that was a really fun OT because I just want to be mad about it.
I
But that
mean,
was an exciting OT.
are we a bit biased by the first three periods because it was some real slow hockey?
Yeah.
Uh, just like the spurt of energy at the end there. I think it might have, warped our perspective a little bit. Well, maybe we'll look at it a little bit later and go like, well, that was all right. But I don't know, because it was just the Tim the Stud.
Yeah.
And that is a great get for Ottawa. Like that's a guy you build the team around. Future captain, honestly, is that good.
We'll
You were
see.
making
We'll
comparisons to
see. We'll
Leon
see if
Draisaitl.
yeah. Hopefully Brady wants to stick around past his 7 year contract. Um, but
Who knows at this
honestly,
point?
man, that Stutzla contract though, I think we always bring it up
Mwah.
every time we talk about anything, but he has an 8x8 starting next year. He's still on his entry level this year. So
That's a really good contract for
so
him.
when you've got a guy who's putting up probably 90 points at the start of an 8x8 at age 21, like this could turn 5 years down the line, this could turn into like one of the best contract. This could turn into like the more like modern day version of like the David Pastrnak contract from a couple of years ago. So that's what I'm hoping anyway. Or I don't think it's going to be quite as good as like, Nathan McKinnon's contract going into next season. But you know, um, on the bright
Yep.
side, Tim Stützle looks amazing. But my God, does this team need? Speaking of 2020 draftees, my God, does this team need Jake Sanderson to come back? Because that is just
Yeah. Or a good defensive coach, someone who knows how to teach a team, how to
yeah.
put bodies in front of other bodies.
And what's really concerning is the GM Pierre Dorian said so he addressed the media and basically said like just list off the guys that aren't going to be traded, and some of them make sense. Like he said, we're not trading Derek Brassard. He's 6 games away from playing his 1,000th NHL game, and I like the
We
fact
got an
that
assist too.
yeah,
First goal with Shane Pinto.
I like the fact that he's going to play his 1,000th game with the Sens. I like that. That's fine. It'd be weird to trade a guy who then plays for a new team, plays 5 games, and then they have to do like 1,000 game celebration for him. I get it. That's weird. But one of the guys he said
no
is
one wants to do
that's
that.
not being traded is Hamnick, because he said that Hamnick's been a really good defense partner for Sanderson in his first NHL season, and that gives me anxiety. And I don't think that's
He didn't
necessarily.
have the worst game today.
No, he didn't. But also, he played against the Chicago Blackhawks.
Yeah, okay, fair. He had a really nice block on the first power play that Chicago had.
Yeah.
Like he got it right on his ankle, and he got right back up. That's not a fun place to get a puck.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that those comments about Dorian liking Hamnick's season with the fact that he specified that he thinks he's been a great D partner for Sanderson is what makes me nervous, because I really hope he's not looking at like, well, we're going to keep them together next year. I don't necessarily think it's him hinting at an extension over the summer, but like, I don't know.
To be fair though, if you're looking to trade a guy, you don't go, yeah, he's shit, we don't want him anymore. I mean, it's not great.
That's true, but he also said he said that he's not being moved, so we'll see what happens.
Who knows? That might just be negotiation tactics. Arizona really wants Hamonic right now.
They really want Hamnick, and they want to get rid of Chikrin. 1-for-1. Let's do it. From
first round pick in there.
Yeah. From Adam Firebear in the chat, you guys need the Audie paper bag. Yeah, so Audie, who's a host on Game Over Calgary, he's got a paper bag that he puts on for the really, really rough, really rough Flames.
I've got the paper face.
Oh, there you go. That'll do just fine. That'll do just fine. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know what else we can say about this game.
Let's not talk about it anymore.
No, what do you want to talk about?
Yeah. Well, I am wearing the new Capitals stadium jersey, That game's tomorrow. I've never seen a stadium game before. Are they any good? Has Ottawa done any?
So Ottawa's played a couple outdoor games. They played against the Canucks and against the Habs, and um, so
How'd that go?
there's well they I'm pretty sure I might be blanking here. I think they lost did they win the Canucks game? I forget. That was a while ago. The Habs game is kind of infamous though because it was the Centennial Classic, and it
Mm.
was an outdoor game in Ottawa, downtown, and it was really hyped up, big rivalry, Ottawa, Montreal, and leading up to the game, in typical Eugene Melnick fashion, made it about him and saying how, like, in the middle of all this celebrating going on in the city about this outdoor game was going to be a big deal. He then threatens to move the team, in a
Really
media
great guy
availability.
though.
Oh, really good guy.
Fantastic
Just
dude.
being like, yeah,
Just
if
in
people don't show
general.
up, we're going to move the team. And I believe that's when he called. Oh fuck! I feel really bad if I'm making this the wrong name. I think it was Brent Wallace, or was it Ian Mendez? I know over the years he had a lot of negative things to say about the best hockey reporters in the city because that's what you do when you're shitty and people are good at their job, and when they're good at the job they out you for being shitty at your job. But he's had I think it was Brent Wallace at that time specifically, Brent Wallace formerly with TSN, who I think most Sens fans have nothing bad to say about Brent Wallace. Same with Ian Mendez. Ian Mendez is the best of us. um, but yeah, as far as the outdoor games go, they're fun. I haven't been to one. I kind of wish I went to the Ottawa Montreal one, but tickets were so expensive, and it was fucking freezing. It was just
I was gonna
before
say, it seems
Christmas.
like they'd be cold.
Yeah, it was just before Christmas, and that would have been like, it was at least -20, I think,
Mm.
outside for that game.
I'd love that right now. We had a 37-degree day yesterday. For the Celsius users, I think that's like 90 or something like that.
Other way
It's
around, Fahrenheit.
insane. Oh, Fahrenheit. I can never remember.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
it was
just so, but
hot.
when you're doing that, just be like, Americans, it's this. But there,
Yeah,
anyway.
fair enough.
From Mr. the New Guy 87 in the chat, just managed to leave the CTC parking lot, so it was a full. Well, which parking lot were you in, man? Parking lot number 9 is the best, and I will die on that hill. Parking lot number 9. That's one that we went to for the Sens Caps game.
Oh, yeah.
In and
Not too
out.
far, but just enough
Yeah,
to help me cool down a little bit after the
yeah,
loss.
yeah. It's a little bit of a trek. It's not bad, and then you can just head straight out, turn left, and you're down Terry Fox. It's beautiful. Love it.
I would like to officially apologize to that one Ottawa fan who said the Caps suck. So I told him to eat a bag of dicks. That was immature of me. I'm embarrassed by my behavior. I was just having a big sook.
All right, man. Well, here's a good way for us to here's parking lot 6. That's the one that's closer. That's the issue. You got to go 9 and just get the fuck out of there. Here's a really good
Yeah.
question for you, Sam. This is a great thing for us to talk about because we talked about this earlier today. From
Okay.
Grant.
My favorite Power Ranger is
Yeah.
the red one.
Yeah, that's the most basic answer you could possibly give. So here's a question from Grant in the chat. Samjo, any thoughts on the NHL potentially coming to Australia next year? And feel free to
Okay.
talk poutine and dogs. Oh no, is that
All
pouting?
right.
Yeah, it says pouting. I'm not read it as poutine because fat Canadian brain.
Well, I love poutine and I love pouty dogs.
Yeah. So
Um,
and especially because the report was it Friedman who let me double check the
Elliot
tweet.
always drops the news.
Yeah, or was it
He's
Kevin
got his
Weeks?
links.
No, I think it was Kevin Weeks first reported allegedly. Yeah, it was Kevin Weeks
And
that
I
first
don't believe
reported.
it.
By the way, Kevin Weeks has me blocked on Twitter. Can we start a petition for him to unblock me? Because I don't know why. Um. Anyway, yeah. So apparently the Bruins and Kings are gonna be playing in your backyard, more or less.
Yeah. They said it will be in Melbourne, so there's two options for them. They'll go to the Dan O'Brien ice hockey arena. Well, they've got two rinks. One's for public skating, and one's for the hockey games where the Melbourne Mustangs and Melbourne Ice do all their home games. And it is very small. Like everyone makes fun of Arizona for their rink. Ours is not even a quarter of that. It is just not a place you want to have a big event in. And the only other option is they could do it at, like Marvel Stadium, where they occasionally have like the Disney on Ice productions, and they'll put a big sheet of ice down, and they'll play to an empty stadium because we just do not have enough ice hockey fans. They might pay a lot of seat fillers. I might not buy a ticket. I might just try and get a paid seat filler gig. But yeah, it's just not the right way to do this. I was talking to you before, like I get Boston Bruins and the LA Kings. They're very successful, popular teams. No one here cares. Like the popular teams in Australia are the Canadian teams, because I mentioned the first time I came, Aussies will go over to Canada to study or meet family or on holiday, and they will adopt the team of the place they go. So, you go visit Toronto, you become a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. And that's just how it works. So we have popular Canadian teams, and I will see Mighty Ducks jerseys out in Melbourne. Never seen a Bruins jersey, never seen a Kings jersey. The only other two teams that would be acceptable are the St. Louis Blues, who currently have Nathan Walker playing for them, Aussie ice hockey legend king, and also the Washington Capitals, who originally drafted him. If it was the Capitals and the Blues coming, that I think they'd have a lot more
not
people
biased
in
at all,
seats.
though, of course. The Caps,
Well,
the Caps fan in the city that we're talking about.
I might be a little bit influenced there. Those are the other two, like the Canadian teams and those two teams, and maybe the Anaheim Ducks. Those are the teams that would fill seats. The Bruins and the Kings, it's just disappointing because it's not going to be a huge success. They're going to call it a huge success, but it won't be. And it's going to make them think, oh, well, maybe we shouldn't put much effort into this. And it's like, no, you should have put more effort in from the get-go. The way to expand the sport is to make it easily watchable. There's no way tickets for this are going to be cheap. If they do it at the Dan O'Brien, I might have trouble getting tickets to that, because all of every Melbourne ice hockey fan are just going to go see that anyway. But that's going to be all the people who are already ice hockey fans. No one's going like, oh, I love watching the Melbourne Mustangs play. What's the NHL? We're all NHL fans with local teams that come probably second under our major team. And it's just not going to grow the sport, and it's really bloody disappointing, because it's not hard to figure out how to do this correctly. You get it on. Yeah, I mentioned before, KO is probably the cheaper sports watching service in Australia, and they maybe do 3 games like a month. You make all the games available to watch on KO. If I would be able to have mates over and say, hey, let's watch an ice hockey game. This is my favorite team. I'll tell you about all the players. I'm not going to my mate, hey, do you want to watch the Kings play the Bruins? I know a bit about Brad Marchand. I can tell you some stories about him. That's not how you get into a sport. For me, who got into sport a little bit older in life, the thing that pulled me in was the stories, the players themselves, someone like a human being to root for. And that's what they need to focus on. They need to focus on teams where, especially like with Nathan Walker, who's got an incredible story, who I can bring my mate over to watch a St. Louis Blues game and go like, watch out for Nathan Walker. He moved from Australia at like 14 years old and went to a Slavic country where he didn't even speak the language, but he was just so dedicated. And then he got to play for an AHL team, and he was so good there that an NHL team was like, all right, we're calling dibs on this guy for the upcoming draft. We want you to play for our minor team. And he went to play for their minor team, and then they drafted him. Like there's one of the greatest stories in hockey is Nathan Walker. His first goal was scored off his bum. There's so many fun things you can talk about to get someone interested, to be like, all right, I want to see him get the puck and score a goal. I'm going to root for this guy. I'm going to root for this team. That's how you expand a sport, not by getting, the two most popular teams in a different country that no one here really pays attention to. I don't even think I have seen Bruins jerseys at ice hockey games. I've never seen an LA Kings jersey at the Dan O'Brien. Maybe I missed it, but I've never seen it. And I just don't feel like what was everyone else busy? I don't know. So that's kind of the end of my rant. I am interested to find out
how they landed on those two teams, but I still think you should go. I think, or at the very least, I think you should try. You should try and grab tickets if that were to happen.
Yeah, I'll do my best to get tickets for that. And I'm pretty sure I'm not exactly going to be staying up like early at 2:00 in the morning to be like, tickets are opening. I think I'll be able to, pull out my phone at lunchtime and be like, oh yeah, still some good seats left.
That's fair. Well, because of the awful unpaid Zoom gods, we're gonna have to wrap things up here. I want to thank you again for coming on, buddy. This is the 4th time you've been on the show, and you'll be on a 5th time shortly after the trade deadline. So that's gonna be a fun one as well.
That'll be interesting. And a lot to talk about if the game goes poorly.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have plenty. If not about the Sens, we'll just talk about stuff league-wide. I'm sure there'll be at least 3 trades that happen that day. So thank you everyone so much for watching, especially after how just fucking depressing that game was. Oh my god, that sucked.
Look how sad the Sens man looks. I don't know if you can see it. He's swearing. And that's definitely the Chicago Blackhawk.
That is, and it's not a slightly redrawn Capitals logo at all. You went all out on this one. I appreciate it. Yeah. All right. Thanks again, everyone, and we'll catch you next time.
Game over. Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.